What if the reason your life hasn't changed yet isn't because you're lazy, isn't because you're unlucky, and it's definitely not because you're not smart enough? What if the real reason is something so small, so quiet, so invisible that most people walk right past it every single day of their lives? And by the end of this video, you're going to see it clearly. And once you see it, you can never unsee it. Hey, welcome back. If you're new here, I'm really glad you found this. And if you've been here before, you already know what we do. We take the most powerful books ever written, and we break them down in a way that actually feels human. Not like a lecture, not like a textbook, like a conversation between two people who genuinely want more from life. Today, we're talking about a book that quietly changed the lives of millions of people around the world. It didn't have explosions. It didn't promise overnight riches. It didn't tell you to wake up at 4 a.m. and drink celery juice. It told you something much simpler and much harder to accept. It's called The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. And I want you to stay with me for this entire journey, because there's a question I'm going to ask you near the end of this video that might genuinely change how you look at your life tomorrow morning. If this kind of content speaks to you, hit that subscribe button, because every week we go deep into books that actually matter. Okay, let's begin. The Invisible Force. Imagine 3 friends, same age, same city, same kind of upbringing, same starting point in life. Let's call them Marcus, Daniel, and Leo. All 3 of them are 25 years old. All 3 of them are frustrated. All 3 of them feel like life hasn't really started yet. One evening, they're sitting together at a small dinner table, and someone brings up the question, "Where do you want to be in 10 years? Marcus laughs it off. "Man, 10 years? That's forever away. I'll figure it out." Daniel nods seriously. "I've been thinking about that. I want to get healthy, make more money, build something real." And Leo just smiles quietly and says, "I've already started." Nobody pays much attention to that last sentence, but 10 years later, Marcus is in almost exactly the same place he was at 25. A little older, a little more tired, a little more regretful. Daniel, he made some changes. He tried things. He stopped and started again. His life is better, but not dramatically, not the way he imagined. But Leo is almost unrecognizable. His health transformed. His finances rebuilt from the ground up. His confidence, his relationships, his sense of purpose, all of it different, deeper, stronger. And here's the haunting part. Nobody could see it happening. Not at year 1, not at year 2, not even at year 5. Because what Leo was doing was practicing the most powerful principle in the entire universe. And it has a name: the compound effect. Darren Hardy opens this book with a question that sounds almost too simple. He asks, would you rather have $1 million right now, or a single penny that doubles every day for 31 days? Most people laugh. A penny? Come on. But let's follow that penny. Day 1, 1 cent. Day 5, 16 cents. Day 10, $5.12. Day 15, you've got $163. Day 20, $5,243. Still not exciting. Still looks like the wrong choice. But then something starts to happen. Day 25, $167,772. Day 29, $2.7 million. Day 30, $5.3 million. Day 31, $10,737,418. $10 million. From a penny. That's the compound effect. And the reason most people never experience it in their own lives is because they give up somewhere around day 15. when it still looks like $163, when it still feels pointless, when it still seems like nothing is working. Now here's the thing that might sting a little. Those three friends, Marcus, Daniel, and Leo, they're not fictional characters in some motivational story. They're a mirror. At different points in your life, you've probably been all three of them. There are areas where you're Marcus, coasting, hoping things will somehow sort themselves out without you doing much. There are areas where you're Daniel, trying, stopping, restarting, never quite building the momentum you need. And maybe, just maybe, there's one area where you're starting to become Leo. Darren Hardy says something early in this book that I want you to really sit with. He says, "You alone are responsible for what you do, don't do, or how you respond to what's done to you." No blame, no victim story, no waiting for the world to be fair, just complete ownership. And I know that sounds harsh. I know that might trigger something inside you right now. Because life is genuinely unfair sometimes. People have genuinely hard circumstances. But here's what Hardy is really saying. He's saying, even inside those hard circumstances, even with the cards you were dealt, the small choices you make every single day are building something. The question is, what are they building? Because the compound effect doesn't care about your intentions. It's running whether you're conscious of it or not. And that is both the most terrifying and the most exciting idea in this entire book. Part 3. Small choices, invisible results. Okay, now here's the part nobody talks about. The part that makes the compound effect both magical and brutal. The results are invisible. For a long, long time. Hardy tells a story about two men. Both start at the same fitness level. One of them makes a tiny change. He cuts 125 calories from his daily diet. Just 125. That's like skipping a small bag of chips. The other man changes nothing. After 1 month, no visible difference. After 3 months, almost nothing. But after 3 years, the first man has lost 33 pounds. Without a dramatic diet, without torturing himself, without a single extreme decision, just one small, consistent choice, repeated quietly, every day. And here's the flip side of that story, the dark side of the compound effect that most people ignore. That same invisible force works in reverse. Hardy talks about another scenario. A man gains just 700 extra calories a week. That's nothing. That's a little extra snack here, a slightly bigger portion there, barely noticeable. After 1 month, nothing. After 1 year, a small change. After 3 years, 30 pounds heavier. Not from one big decision, not from a single bad week. From tiny, invisible, daily choices that seemed completely harmless in the moment. Right now, you might be thinking, okay, I get it. Small things matter. I've heard this before. And maybe you have. But here's what most people miss. It's not just about habits. It's about the trajectory those habits create. Think of it like an airplane. A plane leaving Los Angeles heading to New York is on a precise trajectory. Now imagine the pilot makes a tiny adjustment, just 3 degrees off course. Nobody on that plane would feel it. Nobody would notice. The pilot might not even realize it. But 3 degrees off course from LA? You don't land in New York. You land somewhere in the ocean. 3 degrees, over a long enough distance, changes everything. Your daily choices are those 3 degrees. And the question is, are you 3 degrees toward the life you want? Or 3 degrees away from it? Part 4. The science of momentum. Here's where things start to get really powerful. Darren Hardy introduces an idea that I personally think about almost every single week. He calls it momentum, and he explains it through the metaphor of a huge freight train. You know, those massive trains, the ones carrying hundreds of heavy cargo containers across the country. When that train is sitting completely still, a single wooden block placed in front of the wheel can actually stop it. A wooden block. Against a machine that weighs thousands of tons. But once that train starts moving, once it builds momentum, not just a wooden block, not a car, not a wall, not even a building can stop it. That's momentum. And that's what the compound effect builds when you stay consistent long enough. But here's the brutal truth about starting. It's slow. It's painful. It's unrewarding. It feels like you're pushing a boulder uphill and it's not moving at all. And most people, this is where they stop. Right here, in this exact phase. They try something for 2 weeks. Nothing happens. They try for a month. Still nothing dramatic. And they conclude that it's not working, that they're different, that maybe it works for other people but not for them. And they quit, just before the momentum starts. Hardy says something in this book that broke my heart a little. He says, most people give up just before the magic is about to happen. Just before. I want you to think about something for a second. Is there something in your life right now where you quit just a little too early? A workout routine you abandoned, a skill you were learning, a relationship you stopped investing in, a project you left unfinished? What if you were at day 20 of the penny exercise when you quit? What if you were 3 feet from gold?
By the way, if you're still here and this is connecting with you, drop the word compound in the comments right now. I genuinely read those, and it tells me you're the kind of person who takes this seriously. Because here's the thing, we're just getting to the part where everything changes. Your choices are your autobiography. Darren Hardy says something that stopped me completely when I first read it. He says, every choice has a cost. Not just the bad choices, every choice. Because choosing one thing always means not choosing something else. And most people don't think about choices that way. They think about the cost of the bad choice, the missed workout, the impulse purchase, the late night scrolling instead of sleeping. But they forget about the cost of the good choice they didn't make. The workout you didn't take today doesn't just cost you 1 day of fitness. It costs you the momentum of the person you were becoming. The book you didn't read this week doesn't just cost you 1 book's worth of knowledge. It costs you the edge that knowledge might have given you 6 months from now. Hardy introduces this framework he calls tracking, and it sounds so boring that most people skip right past it. But it might be the single most powerful thing in this entire book. He says, start tracking everything. Track what you eat. Track how you spend your time. Track your spending. Track your moods. Track your small wins. Because here's the psychological trick. When you track something, you make it real. Most people live in a fog. They feel like they're making good choices, but they don't actually know. They feel like they're spending wisely, but the numbers tell a different story. They feel like they're being productive, but the hours disappear and nothing got done. Tracking cuts through the fog. Hardy shares how he started keeping a small journal, not a long emotional diary, just a simple daily log. What he did, what he ate, how he felt. And within weeks, just from watching his own data, he naturally started changing his behavior. Not because someone told him to, but because he could no longer lie to himself. Starting today, try this one small thing. For the next 7 days, at the end of every night, write down 3 things. 1 thing you did that moved you forward, 1 thing you did that held you back, and 1 tiny choice you'll make differently tomorrow. That's it. 3 lines, 2 minutes, and watch what starts to happen. Okay, now we need to talk about something that most self-help books completely avoid, because they're afraid it'll offend you. But Darren Hardy goes there, and I'm going to go there with him. The people around you are either compounding your growth or compounding your stagnation. Hardy shares a study, a famous one, that found that if your close friend becomes obese, your chance of becoming obese increases by 57%. Not because they feed you, not because they force you, but because your environment shapes your normal. What feels ordinary to you is defined by what you're surrounded by. And this isn't just about health, it works in every direction. Spend your time with people who are building something, and building starts to feel normal. Spend your time with people who are stuck, and being stuck starts to feel normal. Hardy says, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Now I know some people hate this idea because it feels like it's telling you to abandon your friends, to be cold, to calculate your relationships like business transactions. That's not what Hardy is saying. He's saying, be intentional. You don't have to cut everyone off, but you do have to be honest with yourself about the energy certain people bring into your daily life. Are your closest conversations pulling you toward growth or pulling you toward comfort and complaint? Because both compound. And here's the deeper layer of this idea. It's not just the people, it's everything in your environment. The shows you watch compound, the podcasts you listen to compound, the things you scroll through at night compound. Every piece of information your brain absorbs is being deposited somewhere. And 6 months from now, a year from now, it's going to pay interest. The only question is, what kind? Hardy calls momentum the big mo, and he says it's the most underrated force in human achievement. Here's what momentum really means. It means the better things go, the better they go. And the worse things go, the worse they go. We've all felt both sides of this. You know those mornings where you wake up early, work out, eat well, get something done before noon, and the entire day just flows. One good thing leads to another. You feel sharp. You feel like yourself. That's momentum.
And you know those days where you sleep in, eat something you regret, skip what you were supposed to do, and suddenly you're in a fog? Everything feels harder. You can't focus. You feel like a stranger in your own skin. That's also momentum, the same force. 2 directions. Hardy says the secret is understanding that you have to earn momentum before you feel it. You have to push the train before it starts moving. You have to be willing to show up consistently during the phase when nothing looks like it's working. Because that phase is not failure. That phase is the investment period. That phase is where the compound interest is silently building. Think about Warren Buffett, the most famous investor in the world. The living proof of the compound effect in action. You know when Buffett made most of his money? After age 65. Not because he got smarter at 65, not because he found better stocks, but because the compound effect had been running for 50 years. 50 years of small, consistent, disciplined decisions. And then the returns absolutely exploded. The people who see Buffett's wealth and think, I wish I had his money, are looking at the result. But the story, the real story, is the 50 years of boring, quiet, invisible compounding that created it. Your life is being written right now, not by one big dramatic moment, by the small chapters you're adding every single day. Part 8. The Rhythm of Rituals. Hardy is very direct about one thing in this book. Success is not a mystery. It's not talent. It's not luck. It's routine. Specifically, it's what he calls your daily rhythm. The rituals that either serve your future or slowly betray it. He talks about his own morning routine, not as a brag, not as a, look how disciplined I am, but as evidence. He says he woke up every morning, years before anyone knew his name, and he did the same small things. He read, he moved his body, he reviewed his goals. He made a small plan for the day, not for an hour, not some intense 5-hour morning ritual. Small, consistent, daily. And here's what those rituals gave him, and what they'll give you. They gave him a mood that doesn't depend on circumstances. You know what most people do every morning? They wake up and immediately let the world tell them how to feel. Check the phone, check the news, check what someone said, check what someone didn't say. And within 10 minutes, their mood, their focus, their entire emotional state is already decided by something outside of them. Hardy says, the most powerful thing you can do is own the first hour of your day. Before the world gets to you, before the noise starts, in that quiet space, you decide who you are today. You decide what matters. You decide what kind of person is showing up for the next 24 hours. What if, starting tomorrow morning, before you touched your phone, you just sat quietly for 5 minutes? No agenda, no productivity hack. Just 5 minutes of deciding, consciously, deliberately, who you want to be today. That's it. 5 minutes. Compounding. Part 9. The influence of associations. Going deeper. Let's go back to the people around you, because Hardy has more to say, and it gets really specific. He divides your social world into 3 categories. Dissociations. People you need to spend significantly less time with. Not because they're bad people, but because their energy, their mindset, their direction in life is actively pulling you away from yours. Limited associations. People you care about, people you love, but who you consciously choose to spend a measured amount of time with. You don't abandon them, but you're intentional about the dose. And then there are expanded associations, the people you need to actively seek out. People who are 3, 5, 10 years ahead of where you want to be. People whose problems are the problems you want to have. People who make your current ceiling feel like someone else's floor. Hardy says, find those people, seek them out, pay for access if you have to, read their books, listen to their interviews, study how they think. Because here's what happens when you're consistently around people who operate at a higher level than you. Your sense of normal shifts. What once seemed impossible starts to seem reasonable. What once seemed like a massive stretch starts to feel like the obvious next step. Your imagination of yourself expands. And when your imagination expands, your actions follow. Think about the person you most admire right now. Not a celebrity, not someone on a poster, a real person in your orbit, or slightly outside of it. Someone who has something you want to build. How much time are you actually spending around them?
Part 10. Acceleration, where the magic finally happens.
We're in the final stretch now, and this is where the whole book comes together. Hardy calls the last stage of the compound effect acceleration. This is the freight train at full speed. This is day 31 of the penny. This is Leo at age 35. And it feels like almost overnight success. It looks like luck from the outside. People see the result and say, wow, how did that happen so fast? But you know the answer now. It didn't happen fast. It happened slowly, invisibly, painfully for years and years, and then it became visible all at once. And here's what makes acceleration so beautiful and so humbling at the same time. You can't rush it. You cannot skip the early stages. You cannot bribe the compound effect. You cannot hack your way to day 31. You have to go through day 15 when it's $163. You have to go through day 20 when it's $5,000. You have to keep going when it looks like nothing is happening. Because something is always happening, even when you can't see it, even when no one else can see it. Even when a small voice inside you says, this isn't working. Something is happening. The roots are growing. Hardy ends the book with a challenge that I want to pass directly to you. He asks, what is the one area of your life where if you applied the compound effect starting today, everything could change? Not all the areas, just one. Your health, your finances, your most important relationship, your creative work, your knowledge. One area, one small daily choice, repeated, without drama, without waiting for motivation, without needing to see results immediately, just one step forward, every day. Remember those 3 friends, Marcus, Daniel, and Leo? I want to tell you something about that story. Leo didn't start with advantages the others didn't have. He didn't have more hours in the day. He didn't have a secret formula or a rich mentor or a perfect life. He just started making small, quiet, deliberate choices a little earlier than the others. And he didn't stop. That's it. That's the whole secret. It's almost offensive how simple it is. But simple and easy are 2 completely different things. Because doing the thing consistently, when life gets hard, when motivation disappears, when you're tired and busy and overwhelmed, that is the test. And most people fail it, not because they're weak, not because they don't care, but because they were never told that failure is invisible too, that falling off track compounds just as powerfully as staying on track, that the person who skips their habit every time life gets hard is also practicing a skill, the skill of quitting. And the person who shows up every day, even imperfectly, even when it feels like nothing is happening, is also practicing a skill. The skill of becoming. Darren Hardy says something near the end of this book that I think about more than almost anything I've ever read. He says, every action, habit, and behavior that you perform is casting a vote for the kind of person you believe yourself to be. Every small choice you make is a vote, not just for what you'll do tomorrow, but for who you believe you are. And over time, those votes add up into a clear, undeniable answer. 5 years from now, you're going to be somewhere. Your health will be in some condition. Your finances will tell a story. Your relationships will reflect years of investment or years of neglect. Your skills will show the evidence of what you practiced. And none of it will have come from one big, dramatic moment. All of it will have come from small, daily, invisible choices. Compounding, quietly, right now, while you're deciding whether to take this seriously. So here's my question for you, the one I promised at the beginning. And I want you to really think about this before you answer it. What is the one thing, the one small daily habit, that you already know would change everything if you just actually did it? You don't need a new idea. You don't need more information. You know the thing. You've probably known it for a while. The question is just, will today be the day you stop waiting to start? Drop your answer in the comments. Seriously, because writing it down makes it real. And the compound effect starts the moment you decide it does. Not tomorrow, not after the holidays, not when things calm down. Now. Thank you for being here. Thank you for spending this time investing in yourself, because that's exactly what this was, an investment. And if you made it to the very end of this video, you're already different from most people.
Most people don't finish what they start. You did. Hold on to that feeling. That's momentum. And I'll see you in the next one.